Earlier this year, my first YouTube video said, I'm just gonna go for it this year.
You and me, just go for it. Let's just go for it and just step into whatever's calling you this year.
And then I only posted one other YouTube video after that. And now here we are in October. I did end up going for it in other ways, so to speak. I committed to doing a bodybuilding show. My show is actually next Saturday. So my first show is in San Diego, and we've never been to San Diego before. So we're doing a whole trip of it, and I will be vlogging that trip, so look out for that. And then my second show is in Federal Way in Washington, just 2 weeks later. So we have 2 shows coming up, and we're finally at the end of prep. And so now that we're a week out, I wanted to do a quick reflection and let you guys in on, you know, more of what this prep has meant for me and what this year has meant for me, because there's a whole other side that I don't really share in depth on. There's a whole other side that you just really don't see. So you might look at me and you're so amazed by prep and you're so excited for me and whatever else you're thinking, which I'm so grateful for. But there's a whole other side that makes this a lot more impactful than I think what you know. So usually when someone decides to do a show and they start to go into prep is the entire focus. It's the main stressor. I mean, it's hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, it's hard. But that's kind of all they have going on outside of like the normal life, family, work stress. This year has been the second worst year of my life. It has been incredibly painful behind the scenes. And there's a lot of things that I do share with you, but there's a lot of things that I also don't share with you. And it's not because I don't want to, because actually there have been so many times where I just want to tell you everything. I really thrive and feel better off of connecting with others, telling my story, just literally reaching for you and having you reach back for me. You know, having my online community, you really feel like my best friend, even if I don't know you, even if I can't see your face, just feels like this giant hug. And so there have been so many times that I want to reach for you when I'm going through something really hard, but I also want to be respectful of the people in my situation and the people in my life. And so it's been a weird balance where I haven't been able to share, but I also know this is my story and it's a really impactful part of my story. So I'm ready to share some of it because I want to reflect. We're 1 week out from my show, so we're at the end of prep. I wanted to reflect on what this means for me, because for so many people, prep and getting on stage is a huge achievement anyway. For me, this was my lifeline. This was my light at the end of the tunnel. This was the one thing I did for me to feel empowered and to feel like myself again, because I was drowning this year. Drowning. So to start off, I've been pretty open about this on my socials, but if you don't know, both of my parents are very, very sick. My dad had cardiac arrest in 2020. He was down for 32 minutes before they resuscitated him, and then they did a quadruple bypass. So we were lucky he even survived then. And he had another heart attack back in June. He had a stroke, and then he had an infection. And so he was in the hospital for 3 weeks. He was also living in SoCal at the time, so we had to go down and pack up his house and bring him up. And there was a lot that went into that. That was really stressful because I was already in prep by this point. And then on the other hand, my mother has CMML, which is chronic myelomonosenic leukemia. It's a blood leukemia. It's I want to say it's incurable. It is curable, but she's not a candidate for the stem cell transplant. It's kind of chronic until she passes, which we don't really know when. So both my parents are dying. And I don't mean to laugh and smile about that, but it's just so unfathomable. The layers of grief are unimaginable. And I don't share them. I share bits and pieces of them, but I don't share all of them. First, there's kind of that undercurrent of grief that both of them are dying. That's really intense. It's really hard. We've known about mom's cancer diagnosis for 2 years, and then, we've known about dad's health issues since 2020. So that's kind of like, settled in for me more. So I'm able to operate pretty well on top of that, granted. But that's kind of the undercurrent of grief. And then the next layer of grief is the kind of changing of the roles. It's one thing if one parent gets sick and then the other parent is like really stepping up and being primary caregiver. And as a child, you kind of expect like, well, one day, you're going to have to, care for your aging parents. And that's something that we all have to think about. I definitely didn't expect for that to happen at 25. Usually you do that at 40 or 50 and you already have your life established and your own families established. And I'm 25 and this is the situation. And so the roles have just kind of switched very quickly. And I love my parents. I love them. We have a lot of dysfunction. Just to put it plainly, I won't go into details, but we have a lot of dysfunction, and I have childhood trauma that I'm still, learning and unwinding and rectifying, right? But now it's almost amplified because they're both sick. And so that's been something really hard to kind of understand and deal with and maintain a level head. And so there's that grief of like, our roles have changed. There isn't really home base anymore, so to speak. It feels like the foundation of home base is just kind of like disintegrating. I call this living grief. That's my term for it. If you were to lose your loved one in a car crash, for instance, it's like instant grief, right? For me, living grief is stages. You're losing the healthy version that could go do anything they wanted with you, and you're losing the version of them who was planning a future with you in it. You're losing the relationship you had before the diagnosis. There's all kinds of living grief that's ongoing, that's messy, and that has no end point. And that has been the hardest challenge of my life, the most painful challenge of my life, because I'm kind of primary, not case manager, but I do a lot of like the case managing and the caregiving and, getting all the resources together and managing the crises when they happen because I'm here. And that's been really hard on me and hard on my nervous system. But every time a crisis happens or every time one of them ends up in the ER again or, things like that, it's like tack on a new layer of grief. And then there's the final layer of me being 25. All of my friends and all of my peers are out there being young, being carefree, exploring, traveling, all the things you're supposed to do in your 20s because you're not usually supposed to think about your parents dying or being at the end stages of life or aging when you're in your 20s. And that's something that, I've had to come to terms with, like, well, this is my path. I'm not quite sure why it's my path, but it is. And we can make the most of it and make the most beauty of it. And I really do believe in that. And so that's what I'm doing. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard. And that doesn't mean I'm not jealous, honestly, of everyone else who just seems to be so carefree. Like, they're not worried about their parents at all seconds of the day. I'm really envious of that. I'm actually really, really jealous. And I know it's not anyone's fault that, they got sick. But, it is a real layer of grief from me. And then there's other layers of mental health crises this year for multiple of us. She did write about it in her blog post. She has a blog on caringbridge.org for cancer patients, and she writes about her experiences. And so my mom talked about this, but she had a suicide attempt, and that was 2 weeks ago, so 3 weeks before my show. You can imagine the stress and the trauma that I have from that moment, from the days that followed. And that's kind of been a theme this year too. That wasn't the first kind of mental health struggles that she's had this year. And, like if you've ever cared for someone or loved someone who was going through mental health struggles, I know that, people have cared for me when I was in that place. I mean, it's hard for caregivers, and it's hard to worry about them. It's hard to kind of try to find safety plans and manage that. It's really intense, I'm not gonna lie. So if you take the gym out of it, bodybuilding out of it, my relationship out of it, if you take work out of it, just family crises, illness alone, caregiving alone, the load already feels so intense on the system. The chronic stress is already unimaginable. And then you add on other life stuff, relationships, careers, which both haven't been perfect for me either, which I'm not going to get into right now, or this video is going to be an hour long. Just honestly, this year has just felt like I have been fighting and crawling and trying to find any kind of way to make it through each day, to find any kind of light, any kind of thing to hold on to. I was diagnosed with depression back in April, and then when I met with a psychiatrist this summer, he told me it was situational. I'm like, that makes sense. I'm on 2 antidepressants and 2 different anti-anxiety meds. I will have you know, I really, really take care of myself. I take care of my health, my mental health, my emotional well-being. We all know this. So in case you're worried about me, don't be. I have my community. I have my hobbies. I see a therapist weekly. I have a psychiatrist. I mean, really, everything is in place for me, and it's still too much. And that's a very real thing. So my goal for the last few months of the year to really kind of get myself in a place where it's not too much, or find better systems so that I can find some relief. Find relief, honestly. Okay, so now given all of that, now imagine prepping for a show on top of that. The dieting, the training, the cardio, the natural stress and cortisol that gets put on your body during prep, all the logistics, the money. I am flabbergasted by myself. I am proud of myself. I have no idea how I did this. I have no idea how we made it, honestly, given everything that's happened this year. Like I said, for other people, doing a show is like their main thing. And for me, this show was a lifeline. Every hard day I had, and I'm not talking like hard day where I didn't want to go train. I'm talking my family is falling apart. I'm falling apart. I feel like I can't breathe. Hard days. All I was imagining was standing on stage and how it's gonna feel in my sparkly bikini and my hair curled and in my little heels, prancing around, and how proud I'm gonna feel and just feel like the warmth of the stage lights. Like that vision is what I've clung on to, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen next week. And so what this show means to me, what this prep means to me, this prep is a token of pure resilience, self-love, courage, empowerment, strength, no doubt. And I'm really happy and proud of myself that I've been able to really hold on to it and cling to it and know, like, this is my thing. Like, this is my little ball of joy. This is my sacred journey. This is my sacred body. This is my sacred experience. And so when people ask me, am I excited for my show, or like, do I want to win? It's like, you don't know that even standing on that stage is an absolute triumph for me. And also this being my very first one, having all of the, the clunkiness and the learning curves and figuring out how my body responds to dieting and the stress and all that. But on top of everything else, it's just magic. Done with magic. I have a little wand. Just, this show means a lot to me. I don't care if I win. I mean, I'm competitive. It would be awesome to win. But, I'm not in this for the ego or for the glory or for whatever else. I'm in this because this was for me, and this is for me. Oh, I'm getting emotional. There's a lot of guilt when you have people that you love, that you're caring for, and who are really sick, and you're working on stuff that's exciting and joyous, and you feel like maybe you're being a little bit selfish, and you don't know if you should be, or you should be taking up space. But I'm really proud of me. And I'm really proud that I made it. Because I could have quit so many times. Not because I was tired, but my soul was tired. Unimaginable stress. I could have quit and I didn't. And I look awesome. And so I'm ready to just go do the dang thing and soak up every moment and just be really present with what this means and how I feel. And thank you again to everyone who supported me. Your energy, the way that you lift me, it truly, really does make a difference. It really does. We leave in 5 days, so stay tuned. Hit that ring bell, subscribe to me so you get notified on my next video. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at BethanyXFit. And I'll see you guys on show day. And I love you. Thank you.